What's up, guys? Welcome back to our second Python video, and in today we're going to be actually doing some coding. So, if you haven't already, fire up your idle, and then if you remember, it's going to open up this screen with the output box. I already have it nice and neat onto the side. So to actually get to the file where we want to start coding, if you remember, File, and then New File, and it'll open up something that looks like this. So I'm going to put this over here, and I'm going to show my line numbers just so we can stay consistent. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be going over variables, strings, integers, floats, booleans, and print statements. And it does sound like a lot, but it's very basic stuff. There's nothing crazy about any of it. Just I guess just like the names for all the stuff. So a variable. So we'll start off with that. So what is a variable? So it's simply something that holds some sort of value. So a variable is a thing that's going to be holding strings, integers, floats, or booleans. So in Python, a variable is normally defined by any like letter or word at all that you can really think of. It's a kind of a rule of thumb. You don't use any like fancy characters, and you can't use just numbers as like to name a variable. So like the most simple variable name that you can give something, we'll just call it a. And to actually assign a to something, we have to use the equal sign. You'll be using the equal sign throughout this entire video. That's how you assign a variable to some sort of value. So the first thing that we'll start off with is a string. So in Python, there's two ways to actually write out a string. We have the single quotation marks. So you start with it and then you end with it. Or you have the double quotation marks. You start with it, then you end with it. It doesn't matter which one you use, but as long as you stay consistent, you'll be fine. So if you start off with the single ones, you must end with the single ones. And if you start with the double ones, you have to end with the double ones. So for the point of the video, we'll just use the single ones. It doesn't really matter. You can use the double ones if you want, but I'm going to be using the single ones. So a string is anything inside of these quotation marks. You can put literally anything inside of it. Numbers, words, letters, symbols, absolutely anything. As long as it's inside the quotation mark, it counts as a string. So we have a equals, and then you can say this is a string. And then I have to end with that single quotation mark since I did start with it. So that's a string. And then hit enter, we're going to the next line. So we can do something called B1, and we can do this because there is a letter and then an integer or a number for namesake. As long as it's just not a single number, you can assign variables with numbers in it. So we have B1. B1 equals, I'll use the single ones again, 57. So this is still a string, even though 57 is a number, simply because we have it inside of the quotation marks. As long as you have those quotation marks there, it's always going to be what is called a string. Okay, to go on to the next thing, we'll go down a little bit. Integers. So integers are simply whole numbers. So we can call a variable called c, and then remember you have your equal sign, because that's how we're going to define it. And then c equals, and then any integer that you can think of, any whole number specifically that you can think of. So I'm going to put down, doesn't matter, put down 38. C is now equal to 38. Very simple. Just any whole number you define as, you can even say C4, which is a variable name, is equal to, and then any other number, 0. There you go. Those are integers. Anything, any variable that holds an integer, the integer must be a whole number. So the next one is another number, but it's going to be slightly different. We'll call it f equals, that'll be our variable name, and it's something called a float. So floats, very simply, are just numbers with decimals. So typically when you write out a float, it's only going to go to one decimal spot. Sometimes your answer will have like more. If you do like 100 divided by like 3 or something like that. But like typically when you're writing code, you're only going to put it to like one decimal point or something. So I'm just going to do that here as well, just for consistency's sake. So we have 10.5. That is a float. Very simple. It's almost the same as an integer, except it's completely defined different, and you'll see why later. It's just something that has a decimal. So we can go f2, which is our variable, equals, and then say 0.5. Those are both floats. Very simple. And the next thing that we have is something called a Boolean. So a Boolean is simply just a true or false statement. So you can get true or false statements by simply writing them out, or you can get them from comparing things to each other, which we'll talk about in a later video. So I'm going to have a variable, call it Boolean, is equal to true. And you'll notice that it highlights. So when something highlights in Python, typically it's a word that's reserved for some sort of like function, or like it's a word already like in their catalog that's already used for something. So you can't use these as well for variable names. So if I try to make a variable name that's true, for example, it won't work. My code will bug because true is already in the catalog of Python's like pre-made like words and whatnot, because it already has something to do. It's not just like any old word. So I got a Boolean that's equal to true, and notice it's a capital T. Lowercase t doesn't do anything. And then write another one. It's equal to false. And you notice that I'll highlight as well, showing you that you actually like wrote it right. So capital T, true, and then capital F for false. Those are very simply your Boolean logics. There's nothing crazy, just I guess just a fancy name. And then all this right now, if we run it, nothing's gonna show up over here. There's only really one or two ways to like really like at least I'll go over in these videos that you can get stuff to show in here. And one of them is print statements, which we will be going over. So to print something in Python, simply type out print, and then you have two parentheses. So what you want to print goes inside of these parentheses. So you can put absolutely anything inside of those parentheses and it will print. So for example, I can put a number, 57. And if I run this, oh, it's going to make me save it. Yeah. Always remember to save your work. Call it Python video 2. Why not? And then you'll notice it runs and it prints 57. And then we can print something called print a string. I used the double quotes. So run. It's going to make us save it. There you go. And then you're also allowed, so if you notice, we'll take this one for example. So if we say print and then F, since it's not in quotes and we defined F up here, what do you think it's going to print? I'll give you a second. So if we print F, save it, it'll be 10.5. But if we did F, now it's inside of a string, do you think it still prints the same thing? I'll run it and we'll see. Now it's just going to print F because it's inside of a string. The same thing goes for all these. If I were to print Boolean, for example, I'll show you because that'd be actually kind of cool. So Boolean. It's going to show true. Sweet. So, also in Python, you can do comments. So basically, a comment is just something that has absolutely no correlation to your code. It's just simply something that you can put in just to like kind of like leave a note for yourself. Like if you have like a really long thing of code and you're gonna keep going back to it, instead of trying to like remember every little thing, you can put in like comments to be like, hey, this is what this does, or this is what this does. And there's two ways to do comments in Python. Simply, you can do a hashtag. This is the comment. So this highlights in red, meaning that you did it right. And basically, it has no correlation at all to your code. You can write absolutely anything in there, and it will not affect your code. It will not show up in the output over here at all. It's just going to be left right there. And then the other way is by hitting the single quote 1, 2, 3 times, and then you hit enter, and then you can type anything inside of here. You'll notice that it's green. And then to end it, hit enter again. Oop, 2, 3. And then you can go back to writing out anything that you want at all. So I'm going to give you guys a little quiz just to make sure that you guys, just to wrap up the video, just to make sure that everything's all clicking and whatnot. And as well, you can always use a comment if I was confused at any part of this. So I'm going to delete this. So I'm going to have you guys just write out like 4 or 5 like different things. So one is I'm going to have you guys, so these are all going to be with variables and assign stuff. So make a variable call it YouTube, and then assign it a string. Next, I'm going to copy and paste this because it's going to be a lot of just making variables. So make a variable called hello, and then assign it an integer, and then make a variable called anything, CPU. Just looking at my computer, so we'll just say that. And then assign it a double. Make a variable called mouse. Look at my mouse. Assign it any Boolean value. And then make a print statement. Have it print out one of your variables that you made and a random string. Very simply. So just pause the video, and then I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things here. Just write them out on your own. See if you can do it. Pause the video because I'm about to do it in like 10 seconds. And let me know what you guys get. Alright, if you actually paused the video and did it, good job. And if you did it in your head because you knew what to do, also good job. So, the first thing that we said to do was make a variable called yt and assign it to a string. So, yt is equal to a string. Make sure to sub. Okay? So if you have, as long as you have yt equals, and then the quotes, double quotes or single quotes on the front and back, and then anything in between, you got it right. You're 1 for 1. So now I'll make a variable called hello and assign it to an integer. Say 9,732. So if you have hello equals and then any whole number, you got it right. You're 2 for 5 so far. Let's keep going. Next one. Make a variable called CPU. So if you have CPU equals, you're already halfway right on this one, and assign it to any double. 47.4. So as long as you have a number here, this little dot, and then a number after, you got it right. You got a double. Next one. Variable called mouse. Set it equal to any Boolean value. I'm going to pick true. So why not? We like things to be true. So we got a Boolean value. We set it equal to true. And then you can set true or false, and it would have been right. So true, false, and you got it right. I'll just keep it at true for now. And then make a print statement and have it print out one of your variables. So remember, type out print, and then our parentheses, and then have it print out one of our variables. And then I'll have it print out yt. So there's half the question, and a random string. Then do this and just any random string. Cool. And then remember, come up here to run, and then we're gonna make sure to save it. And there you go. And that is all I have for you guys in this video. If you guys have any questions at all, if that was confusing at all, if I missed something, just leave a comment. I'll be sure to respond as soon as possible. This did go a little bit longer than I was hoping for. I try to keep them around 10 minutes long, but hopefully it was just very straightforward and just enough to get you guys comfortable with actually putting down some words onto idle. So, that'd be it. I'll see you guys in the next video. We'll be going over just math operations. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed.